school's out, blame corona, but I still got some science I could show ya. No class, no school, that's cool, throw the class on the YouTube. Even if they shut the school down, I'll get that knowledge anyway somehow. Real scholars won't stop for corona. Tune in for that science takeover.
Happy Wednesday, everybody. Welcome to Mrs. Finney's science class. Shout out to the HB Warriors. We are what? Warriors strong. And to our subscribers, we have 153 subscribers. Check you all out. And shout out to our visitors. Thank you all for tuning in. From your house to my house, let's look at some science. So this week, we've been in our TCI curriculum called Cells and Genetics. We started our new lesson, Lesson 7, Parts of a Cell. And today, we're now on Section 3 already, talking about plant cells, all right? So we started off with bacteria cells. They only have 4 different parts. And then yesterday we were talking about animal cells, and now today we're talking about plant cells. So our learning objective is I can explain the function of the organelles in a plant cell. So let's see what we need to learn today about plants. Lovely plants. Okay, moving on. Here we go. Section 3, plant cells. It says, you have seen what animal cells look like, but if you were to look through a microscope at plant and animal cells, how could you know which is which? What is the difference between the two? We'll talk about that as well. Plant cells have most of the same organelles that animal cells have, most of the same ones. However, plant cells have 3 structures that animal cells do not have. Repeat after me. Do not have. Do not have. All right. What are they? Chloroplast, a cell wall, and a central vacuole. Those are the 3 that we'll talk about today. They're in plant cells. They are not in animal cells. They are not in bacterial cells. All right. So let's talk about them. Chloroplasts make food. Animals need to eat food, but plants do not. Plants can make their own food because many of their cells contain an organelle that allows them to do so. I make my own food because I'm a plant cell. I make my own food. Get it, get it, get it, get it, get it, get it, get it. Make my own food because I'm a plant cell. Make my own food. Okay, moving on. Here we go. Just had to break out on that really quickly. A chloroplast is an organelle that uses the sun's energy to make sugar through the process of photosynthesis. How many of you have heard of this word before? You should be familiar with this from a previous grade, photosynthesis. All right. A green pigment in the chloroplast called chlorophyll absorbs energy from sunlight. This energy is used in a chemical reaction to convert carbon dioxide, we talked about that, and water into sugar. The sugar is the cell's food. It is stored as sugar until it is needed for energy and is broken down. All right? Not all plant cells have chloroplasts. For example, cells and roots have no chloroplast, since there is no sunlight underground. These root cells cannot perform photosynthesis. However, cells in a plant's leaves have many chloroplasts for performing photosynthesis. All right, so keep that in mind. I want to take you to an image of what we're talking about. Okay, right here, we have a plant cell. And these green pieces are markings for chloroplast. You're going to notice, just looking at the plant cell, shaped a little differently, right? It's one thing you want to keep in mind. Plant cell has a different shape than animal cell. All right? So we need to keep in mind here that chloroplast is an organelle that uses the sun's energy to make sugar through the process of photosynthesis. The chloroplast is making food for the plant. All right, here we go. Moving on. Third unique one that is in plant cells, not in animal cells, not in bacterial cells. All right, central vacuole. What does this do? Stores liquid. Plant cells have one large central vacuole, which is much bigger than the vacuoles found in animal cells. As you can see in figure 3A, we'll get there. The central vacuole is often the largest organelle in a plant cell. The central vacuole stores and gets rid of waste. It is so large because it also stores water and other liquid materials that will be needed by the cell. And it helps to maintain the cell's shape by filling with fluid. All right, so let's take a look at what that looks like. Look how large that is. It looks like a pool. Does this look like a nice pool? It's just making me think about summertime, right? So that's the central vacuole, and it gives you a feel of water just looking at it. I mean, because it's what? Blue, right? Looks like water there, all right? So we want to keep in mind the central vacuole does what? Stores liquid, okay? The other piece is the cell wall. Cell walls do what? I mean, let's think about it. Cell wall. What do you think a cell wall would do for a plant? Supports a plant. A plant cell is surrounded by a cell wall, a protective outer covering that lies just outside the cell membrane. Cell walls on the outside of the cell membrane. A cell wall helps the cell keep a rigid shape. I'm going to keep this plant cell nice and strong, so we have to put a cell wall around it. Okay, moving on. Suppose you fill the balloon with water. The water balloon is squishy and can easily burst. But if you place the water balloon inside a cardboard box, it would be much less likely to break because the box would protect it. A box would also make the combined parts more rigid and give it a definite shape. The cell wall accomplishes the same functions for a plant cell. All right? So we have the cell wall for support. Let's take a look. What does that look like? All right, right here we have the cell wall. Check it out, check it out. Cell wall, keeping everything nice and strong. Okay, and that's on the outside of the cell membrane. You see that? Cell membrane, right? They're showing that here, and then they're showing the cell wall outside of it. Okay? The cell wall is not an organelle because it is not surrounded by a membrane, but it is a very important plant cell structure. It regulates the amount of water in the cell, allowing water to pass through, but preventing the cell from bursting. Very important. The cell wall works with the central vacuole to keep a plant upright. When the cells have water, the fluid-filled vacuole pushes the cytoplasm and cell membrane against the cell wall. This pressure helps to make the cell rigid so that it can keep its shape and support the parts of the plant. In the same way, the filled water balloon presses on the sides of its box and helps prevent the box from collapsing inward. If you forget to water a plant for a short time, it soon begins to droop. I'm sure you've seen that before, right? When the central vacuole is not filled, the cytoplasm and cell membrane shrink away from the cell wall. Okay, you get the picture. As seen in the photo, and the plant wilts, the cell wall will still maintain the shape of the cell so that the plant is able to pop right up again when it is watered, as long as the cells have not died. I'm sure you've seen that happen before. All right. So let's take a look at some pictures here. It says it is sometimes difficult to see both the cell wall and cell membrane with a microscope because they are close together, right? In this photo, the cytoplasm and cell membrane have shrunk inward due to lack of water in the central vacuole, while the cell wall has stayed more rigid. Check this out. You see that? Interesting. So this is what it looks like on a microscopic level. Okay? All right. So let's recap before we get into our check for understanding. All right. We have 3 unique parts for plant cells. All right. First one we talked about, chloroplast. All right. What does it do? It makes the food. All right. And then we have central vacuole, stores liquids. All right. And here's what they look like. Chloroplasts will be represented by these green structures. And then we have the central vacuole here looking like a huge swimming pool, right? And then cell wall outside of the what? Cell membrane. Good job, good job. All right, let's check for understanding here. Which of the following is true about plant cells? Let's see what you know. Plant cells do not have a nucleus. Anybody tell you that? Did you get that understanding? All plant cells contain chloroplasts to perform photosynthesis. The central vacuole stores water and materials that are needed by the cell. What do you think? True or false? Unlike animal cells, plant cells have a cell membrane instead of a cell wall. What do you think? What do you think? Check out the pic. Okay. Talking about plant cells today. Hey, you want to just check? See? We'll start with the top one, maybe. Plant cells do not have a nucleus. You want to go for that one? What do you think? Oh, try again. Hit reset. What about B? You want to try B? Okay. All plant cells contain chloroplasts to perform photosynthesis. What do you think? Should we try that one? Definitely not the one. All right, let's try C. The central vacuole stores water and materials that are needed by the cell. Want to try that one? Okay, all right. See what you got here. True or false? Here we go. Bingo, bingo. Good job. All right. And so that would be our correct answer for the check for understanding. Let's scroll down here. What does a chloroplast allow a plant cell to do that an animal cell cannot? I know you know this answer. Please restate the question in a complete sentence. Boo! It's on you. What do you think? Okay. All right. Okay. Answer says chloroplasts allow a plant cell to produce its own food through what? The process of photosynthesis. Animal cells do not have chloroplasts, so they cannot produce their own food. Good job. Good job. Okay, here we go. How is a cell wall different than a cell membrane? Definitely needed to be in yesterday's class to answer this. What do you think? What did we learn today about cell wall? A cell wall is a more rigid structure that maintains its shape no matter how much water is inside the cell. Okay? The cell membrane is more what? Flexible. It conforms to the shape of the cell depending on how much water is inside the cell. Okay, here we go. What kind of cell does this illustration represent? Take a look. What kind of cell is this? Plant cell? Bacterial cell? Animal cell? How do you know? How do you know? What do you see here? Okay, see if you can identify those parts. All right, here we go. Answer says The cell is a plant cell because it has a large central vacuole. It has chloroplasts and it has a cell wall. Check it out. All right. All right, so you have your central vacuole, you have your chloroplast, and you have your cell wall. Okay? Good job. Good job. All right, so we now know the three structures that you would have in a plant cell that you would not have in an animal cell. Let's name them. Together we have chloroplast for making food through which process? Photosynthesis. Good job. Okay. We have the central vacuole responsible for storing liquid. Looks like a huge swimming pool. Shout out to summertime coming. And then we have the cell wall. It supports the plant. Okay. Protective outer covering that lies just outside of the cell membrane. Cell wall helps to keep a rigid shape for the cell. Okay. So now we know the parts that are unique for a plant cell. I want to take a look here at this next piece so we can get a visual of the difference that you would see between a plant cell and an animal cell. All right, check out the difference in the shape. See if I pull it up a different way here. Shrink this screen down just a snag. Okay. All right, and so you're going to notice the similarities, but you also should be able to notice the differences. All right, so here we have a nucleus for both of them. Does what? Stores and protects the instructions, the DNA for how to make the organism. Okay, they both have mitochondria, right, which converts energy and nutrients into usable energy. You can see that structure in both of them. Okay. Ribosome, we know they're responsible for doing what? Building new proteins. See these little red circular shapes in both structures. All right. Both cells, rather. And then we have cytoplasm. What does that do? Fills the inside of a cell. All right. So this little purple area here would be the cytoplasm for the animal cell. And then we have this little section here for the cytoplasm and the plant cell. Okay, we also have the endoplasmic reticulum right here in the animal cell and over here in the plant cell. What does that do? Helps build and transport many of the parts that make up a cell. Okay, we also have the Golgi Apparatus. Check it out, check it out, check it out. Packages and sends material to all parts of the cell or to be released outside of the cell. Shout out to the Golgi Apparatus. All right, and then check this out, check this out. Okay, we have the cell membrane. Cell membrane right here. Regulates what enters and exits the cell and acts as protection for the cell. Okay, and right here, oh, check out this. Lysosome breaks down waste and any unfamiliar materials in the cell. You see they only pointed that one out in the animal cell. Okay. And then unique to the plant cell, they point out the central vacuole, talked about today, stores material, often water, for the cell. And then we have the cell wall, rigid outer structure that gives the cell a distinct shape and size and protects the cell. And then we have the chloroplast right here in green. Uses light energy from the sun to convert carbon dioxide and water into sugars that the cell can use for food. So now we can do a comparison and contrast. All right. Animal cell, plant cell, and we know about bacterial cells as well. All right. You should feel informed. Good job. Nice work. All right, so that is it for today. Let's close out with our outro. It's been fun. It's been real. We break it down and pick up science skills. Give yourself 2 claps just for tuning in. Come back, meet tomorrow. We can learn again. Oh, it's been fun. It's been real. We break it down and pick up science skills. Give yourself 2 claps just for tuning in. Come back, meet tomorrow. We can learn again. Shout out to you for being a scholar and focused. I will see you tomorrow. Have an awesome rest of your day. Peace.